Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ba'ad. All thanks and praise are due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and may His peace and blessings be upon His last and final messenger, His family, His companions, and those who follow them until the end of times. In verse number 109 of Surah Al-Kahf, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, قل لو كان البحر مدادا لكلمات ربي لنفد البحر قبل أن تنفد كلمات ربي ولو جئنا بمثله مددا. Say, if the ocean were ink for the words of my Lord, the ocean would be exhausted before the words of my Lord were exhausted, even if we brought the like thereof to replenish it. The words of my Lord, kalimatu Rabbi, may be a reference to Allah's infinite knowledge, wisdom, or the meanings of the Quran. If the oceans were turned into ink, and the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala were to be written with this ink, then the ink would run out, and the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would still be left, even if more ink were to be brought. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions a similar example in Surah Luqman. ولو أن ما في الأرض من شجرة أقلام والبحر يمده من بعد 7 أبحر ما نفذت كلمات الله إن الله عزيز حكيم. And if all trees that are on the earth were to be pens, and the ocean converted into ink is supported by 7 seas following it, the words of Allah would not come to an end. Surely Allah is mighty, wise. So these verses highlight the infinite knowledge, might, power, and wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a very powerful and beautiful way, using extremely vivid imagery. This imagery helps us understand the vastness of Allah's knowledge, wisdom, and secrets, creating a sense of awe, reverence, and humility. The ocean is the largest and richest creation known to us as human beings. It takes up more than 70% of the surface of the earth. We use ink to document and record our knowledge, which we think is vast and amazing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives this example of the ocean as ink being used to write and record His words, showing us that our knowledge is extremely limited. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us that if all the trees on the face of the earth were turned into pens, and all the oceans into ink, and then they were used to write the words of Allah, the pens would break and the ink would finish, but the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would never end. And just to provide some perspective of the sheer magnitude of what's being described, there are over 3 trillion trees in the world. There are over 321,003,271 cubic miles of water on the planet. That's enough water to fill 352,670, followed by 15 zeros, I don't even know what number that is, gallon-sized milk containers. These are numbers that are literally beyond our imagination. Our minds can't comprehend them. And regarding this example, Sayyid Qutb rahimahullah writes, this scene is taken straight from people's limited knowledge and observation, but aims to put before them the meaning of God's ever-renewing will, which is neither limited nor restrained. Their minds cannot visualize this concept without such a comparison. People record their knowledge and speeches and sign their orders using pens, which used to be made of reed, and ink which hardly filled an ink pot or a bottle. The comparison drawn here shows them that if all the trees on earth were made into pens, and all the seas were made into ink, this would still be insufficient to describe Allah's inexhaustible might. Furthermore, even if the sea of ink was given supplies with 7 more seas, while scribes sat to record Allah's words that speak of His knowledge and will, it would still be insufficient. All the pens, ink, trees, and seas will be used up and exhausted, while Allah's words will not end. It is a case where what is finite is faced with the infinite. No matter how huge the finite is, it will come to an end, while the infinite remains undiminished. Allah's words will not finish, not ever, because His knowledge is unlimited and His will unrestricted. Trees, seas, living creatures, objects, and situations all come to an end. The human heart stands in awe before Allah's majesty, which is endless, unchanging. God is indeed Almighty, wise. We as human beings should never be deceived or fooled by our own intellect and abilities. No matter how much we learn and how advanced we become scientifically and technologically, it's nothing compared to the infinite knowledge and wisdom of Allah. Our knowledge compared to the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is like a drop of water compared to all the oceans. وصل اللهم على نبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. جزاكم الله خيرا والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.